Damn errors. All right, who's next?
I've always been like a big fan of your guys' drums, like just fucking crisp and clear. I was wondering, like, is it more sample choice or processing? Like, any suggestions on?
It's a bit of both, I think. We try to like make as weird of instruments as possible just out of random samples. So like, for example, a lot of like the grimier kicks that we have will like use weird percussion or like a recording, like a real live recording or something, just layer it on top of like a fat sub, and then maybe just put like a punch, like a very short kick, like right at the beginning of it, and then just kind of, you know, mess around with just different samples and just make your kick sound super weird. Like, that's how we kind of get just these weird kicks, but they bump, you know.
Yeah, and a lot of it has to do with like mix down as well. Like if you want your drums to be like beefy and punchy, then you got to make sure that it's gonna be either the only sound at that point that sort of punch through, or, you know, mix everything down a bit lower so that is louder compared to everything else, kind of thing. So that's like a big thing. Yeah.
So like my favorite probably like kick, because like I just love that the harder style is like from Sorry's Turnup.
Yeah.
So like it's so full and it's got so much volume, but it's got so much tonality as well. So could you maybe like take us through like a little bit of the process of like how you made that kick? Yeah. Is it like it's like big room or hard style, or like I don't know, it's like in between?
So yeah, it is hard style. There's like that hard style like distorted kick layer to it, but then kind of like he was saying, we just layer a punch. If the sub is not right, like layer a sub in the same kind of note or something, or, you know, and then usually what we do for all the kicks and drums, we make a sample, like work on one kick, one sample, and like make it sound as best as you possibly can, you know. Then you could just, you know, when you're done with it, just drag it into the project or any other project, and then just, you have this perfect kick already that you spent so much time on, and you have like this sample that you made. You know, you can see it. We did it like the LCA kick, like all this stuff. You know, we try to work on the one sample, and once you get that one sounding right, you know, bounce it down, make it into this one sample, and then just keep using it over and over. And then we go and take these and layer them with each other and stuff. And I mean, you could really do whatever the hell you want.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Anyone else? Yeah.
Tell us about how this track came about and like the process that you guys went through to make this.
So this song actually we started with Emo like 3 years ago. We did a tour with him. It was like his first time over in the US and stuff. And we started this in a hotel room. I think he pretty much had just those chords. And then I think he had like that bass line kind of thing.
Yo, how'd you make that sound, that bass block?
So those were actually from Emo. I don't know who asked that, but I'm looking in this direction. Yeah, that was Emo. I mean, he has all his stuff. I know some of the synths that he used that we picked up from him are like Synth. I don't know if you know Synth or not, but him and Flume use that a lot, and he's the one that showed that to us, and it sounds really cool and weird. And then, yeah, he also uses a bunch of like Ableton effects and stuff like that, like erosion and stuff, to kind of get like the weird sounds, you know, onto these other sounds, like that weird grainy sound, whatever. Yeah, but it started off, you know, pretty much just that, and then we just kind of worked around it. We tried like, I mean, between 3 years and now, there were like 4 different ideas that this went through, and then this came out to be like the best one, obviously because we chose it, and that's what happened. But yeah, then, you know, just one day me and Julio kind of you know, worked on the drop, and then once we got that main idea down, before we even had the vocal for it, we had this idea down and kind of laid it out, and then started working with the writers and stuff to you know, make the vocals. And then actually Emo had gotten Tunji to record this without knowing about the other vocal that we were doing yet. Like, he just randomly was doing it because he was working with him. and then we just kind of, you know, they were both talking about the same kind of thing, so it fits really well together, and we pretty much just like spliced this track together, kind of, and that's the end result. Yeah.
Is Tunji the rapper or the singer?
The rapper.
Woo, bring it back, I think you lost me. She go back and get a wallet.
Yeah, so he's the rapper. He's from Philly. The singer is Bishop. But you could look her up. She has a bunch of cool tracks and stuff too.
So you said you had multiple ideas. Do y'all tend to do that a lot? Like if you start a project and you're like, oh, okay, I like this idea. Maybe to like grow creativity, like make different versions of it. And then, okay, cool.
Yeah,
Dope.
definitely. Like one of the big ones that changed a lot was Illuminate. Like it first started as that first like guitar kind of sample in the beginning. He had made it, and it was a hip hop track at like 160 BPM or something like that, with like completely different bass line, whatever. Then I was like, oh man, I think it'd sound cool if we get it to like 105 and do like a 4/4 kind of thing. And then we changed that to be more like a kick and snare kind of like weird future based thing. Like, yeah, you know, just try to take your ideas, and especially if you're not happy with them, like try out different things and like really try to, you know, change the key, change, you know, just anything to try to spark interest and creativity. Yes.
What would you say is like one of the most one of the best things about being in like a duo as opposed to like a solo project? And then like what would you say are like some of the biggest challenges?
Well, there's definitely a lot of pros. Just
like, you have a friend.
Yeah, make a friend. And yeah, you know, it's always good to get like other people's opinions just on your own ideas. Although, you know, you are your own best critic, it's always good to just get that fresh perspective and just even get, you know, new ideas that you might not have thought of, you know, from someone else. So that's definitely a pro. But, you know, same time you could disagree on a lot of stuff and can make the process a little bit hard. But I think that's just part of the whole package of just being in a duo, you know what I mean? It's just, like he was saying, it sparks creativity and it sparks ideas, you know? It helps just... Two heads are better than one.
Were you guys did you guys do solo projects before you like joined together as GTAM?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. What brought you guys together as?
So we actually, I mean, we're just working on, as a hobby, like just working on music because we both liked it, and we had a friend in Miami, like a local DJ that was friends with him and me, and on Facebook he was like, oh hey, you guys are making music, you know, check it out, and then we just like met up one day, jammed out, made a track, and it's kind of literally just been that ever since. Yeah. We're both very easy people, so we work very well together, and we both like the same, you know, the same kind of music, and especially by now have the same workflow because we've been working together for like 6 years. So, yeah. I mean, I highly suggest it if you could find someone to work with. It's always good to have your creativity tested.
Yeah, collaborating is definitely cool, regardless of whether or not you want to be like a single act or a duo, whatever. It's always good to just share ideas with people.
What's something you guys do to like start your creative process, like especially if like you're in like a writer's block spot? So like
we get coffee.
That's kind of tough. There's some times where maybe you just shouldn't, you know, like sometimes I try to force myself to like just make anything, and no matter what it is, any kind of idea, you know, I just try to, you know, something will click and just be like, oh man, you know, let's work on this or that, you know, and then sometimes it just can't really do much, you know, and just try to, I don't know, go for a run or something, you know, like get your mind off of it, and sooner or later you'll, you know, kind of get back into things. You'll find something that'll spark your interest again, you know, like listen to a new track from some random SoundCloud dude and be like, wow, like this cool idea that he did, you know, and then that'll spark you to think of something else a different way or something, you know. So yeah.
Especially because you just kind of said like find something new on SoundCloud. Like, do you agree that the market would be oversaturated right now? And if so, like any good idea, or like I don't know, obviously not good ideas, but just methods to kind of get out from something that has so many people doing such similar stuff.
Steve, you know, that's what we always try to do, to stay open-minded about music in general. Like, you know, I think the reason why it would become oversaturated would because people would be trying the same thing. People always want to make what the coolest dude's making because it's just how it is, you know. But it's always good to think outside the box, and it really doesn't limit you. You know what I mean? Like all you can really do is invent something new.
Which is still good if you're learning, by the way. Like if you're, I mean, when we were making stuff for the longest time, we didn't know what the hell we wanted to sound like. You know, we didn't know what kind of stuff we would want to make. We would just like, man, I love this new Major Lazer track. I want to make something like that. So it's good to be inspired and learn from what other people are doing, but at the same time try to think outside the box and not try to just copy it, kind of thing, you know.
Yeah, hey, so like through your tracks, I've really noticed that your vocal processing is just very different and unique. Could you run us through what you normally do to vocals? And how
yeah, so I will actually pull up. Let me show you this one.
Is FL your main DAW, by the way?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah. I mean, I went to SAE and I learned how to do like Ableton and Logic and Pro Tools and all that stuff. But
just one rogue.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've been working in this since high school, so it's always kind of stuck as like a main thing.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'll show you. I mean, I think really what it is like less is more kind of thing with vocal. I mean, with anything really.
Yeah.
Like less is always more, and you know, just like depending on the song, picking out the right reverb that you want to match the kind of environment of the song that you want.
Yeah.
You know, don't overdo it. Really, it's like probably the main thing that I've learned about trying to do vocals. You know.
Yeah.
A and B it with other tracks that you like how those sound, you know, like try to get EQ settings similar, or, you know, stuff like that.
Nice.
So let's see, for this one, so we...
Si tú me abandonas, ¿qué será de mí? ¿Qué será de mí? We be underground, running through the tunnels, baby. We've been moving bricks all around, get you higher than the Eiffel Tower. Counting my love by the pound. I'm your Tropicana, baby. You already know I'm dead.
So for this one, there's different parts to it, and we have for this kind of hook area. So we did like record and like literally everything on this song, which is the first time with this album we've ever really done that ourselves.
Nice.
But yeah, I mean, it was a lot of what happens. Like it depends on the kind of sound that you want. So like for this part, the kind of pre-chorus,
They'll never catch us.
there's
I watch
you
your
know
back.
there's two vocals at the same time, and they're like panned a bit, so it gives you like that kind of effect.
They'll never catch us. I watch your back, boy. Bloody as we.
Are you pitching them differently?
No. The only thing I did was essentially manually vocalized it,
Cool.
which was very fun, as you could see by all these chops. But yeah, I mean, one of the big things that I, doubles, record doubles, triples, like the more stacks that you do, depending on the sound that you want, it will give you like that beefier vocal.
Right.
And then we have like some of these ad-libs.
Yeah, it just sounds really flowy.
Yeah, and then, these are in the ad-libs and, just in the background and stuff. And let's see, like on the mic in, I used just a Motu audio interface, like not even a preamp or anything, which I'd want to get one, but
Is this all from one take?
well, like one day of working, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. This one in particular, I think there's like 3 takes, like in the main vocal. It really just depends on the vocalist that you're working with and how they work. It's actually, even a really, really, really good vocalist, like almost impossible to get it in one take.
Yeah.
And And depending how perfect you want it to sound, like auto-tune or not auto-tune, you know, like all that kind of stuff. You could use auto-tune and make it sound like there is no auto-tune, you know, like luckily for her, she's a really good singer, like jazz trained and all this stuff, so I barely had to use any auto-tune. And I still did it just to make sure that, mostly for the doubles and stuff, that those are in tune with each other.
Okay.
And then let's see for the...
What'd you use for auto-tune?
I didn't even use auto-tune on this one.
Damn.
Yeah. But the Antares auto-tune. Sometimes on FL they have the, it's like pitcher or something like that.
It's like the stock auto-tune there.
Yeah, it comes with FL. Yeah, like this is on the lead, and I just have a little bit of OTT, which I'm sure everyone knows what that is. The CLA thing, which I didn't even touch, actually. Okay. Then I just have a bit of delay, like the Waves plugins sound awesome. This plugin for reverb, it's IK Multimedia, classic reverb, sounds awesome. This thing is magical.
What is that?
And it is just an EQ that comes in Wave. It's called the RS56. And it gives you kind of, it's like certain, you can see here's like certain frequency presets for like the highs, and it's like left and right with each one, so it's like every two is a different band. And I found that this one gives you like that really, really nice high frequency coloration that you hear on a lot of like today's tracks, and it sounds incredible. Like you literally just put it up a bit here, you know, and you know, do it to taste, and not a lot, but just a little bit, and it gives you like that clarity that you're just like, wow, it sounds awesome.
So better than like EQing and like pushing the highs up a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. It just like that certain one colors it like that certain way that you're just like, wow, it sounds great.
Sounds good.
Yeah. I never really thought too much about like, oh, I have to have like this certain plugin because it does this, but this is like one of them. I'm like, you know, this certain plugin like sounds unique in its way.
Cool.
Then just some like kind of comb filtering kind of things just to take out some certain frequencies, compression, and the classic end of chain. And we usually put this at the end of almost every single channel that we have.
Oh shit.
Not even if we use it or not, like actually change any of the knobs. But built into it, it's like a EQ, compressor, limiter, and distortion all in one. So it has a limiter on the like built within it. So if you just put it at the end, it'll limit it. So it's just yeah.
So this kind of going away from the vocal a little bit, but obviously like your branding is very good. So like at the beginning, aside from like the music being like the main source of how your brand becomes, you know, known, like what would you say is like the biggest, like the what took your branding to like the next level, or why do you think it was like so successful besides the music being good?
So actually we're pretty terrible at branding and didn't really have it like anything kind of going in that way until probably like a year and a half, 2 years ago. We started working with this guy. His name's Mr. Device. He does like all of the animation stuff, all of the drawings and the goons and all that stuff, you know, like literally all of our branding. And you know, just in working with him and how we work with our stuff, and just all of us working together is how we've kind of come up with it. It's tough. I'm not the best at branding, and if you could work with someone that is, and I'd highly suggest it. You know, like if you do it yourself, obviously get it, but if you can't, like building a team is so important, and making sure everyone's doing like their certain jobs and stuff, you know.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
How key do you think in production repetition is, like, since y'all are collaborating, like if you go into a session and write a track, and I mean, how many goes do you give it before you're like, let's throw this thing away and start another one and forget it, you know?
I don't know, that I guess just depends on you. You know, like I said, there's some of these tracks that we had good ideas, but then we got to a certain point that we were stuck. And so that's when, you know, like Illuminate or some of the other ones, we change the tempo, change up the key, change, you know what I mean? Like, change something within it to kind of spark your creativity again. And then it really just depends on how much, you know, effort you want to put into it or how much you believe in that idea. Because there's a million projects on this computer that we'll probably never finish, you know? Cool.
Are those vocal takes on the hook of this song harmonized? Like, is one of them at the fifth or something, or are they all at the same note?
So the ad-libs are...
That's actually making it fourth.
Yeah. And that was in working with her. She's just really good at harmonizing. Most vocalists that have been working for a while are pretty good at harmonizing. And a lot of them will, like, essentially give you too much and, like, make, like, all these different harmonies and all that stuff. And then it's, you know, the producer's job pretty much to just put in what you actually need. From what we've realized, most people, like I said, they just, like, they go and they just are like an endless pool of ideas, and then it takes, like, the producer's job to kind of rein it in and not go too far. Yeah, I think you had one over here. Yeah.
When do you guys ever, like, start separate ideas on your own laptops and then, like, switch?
Yeah.
Or is it always like one session?
Yeah, a lot of the times, like, I mean, we don't sleep together or anything like that. But it's you know, and whenever we're not together and stuff like that, or we're, you know, chilling on our own, we'll just make ideas on our computer, and then whenever we meet up again, or whenever, you know, we're together, we'll just, like, share each other's ideas and be like, yo, man, check this out, I made this today. And we'll just take ideas and just trade them on computers and stuff like that.
Yeah, like this idea, the main beat of it, Julio had started, and he had pretty much just like this loop minus vocal. That's pretty much what we had, and then when we were working with Jarina, we were just showing her a bunch of different beats that we had. He was pulling up he has an unreal amount of stuff on there that he doesn't even show me. And we go through it, and then, like, oh man, this is fucking awesome. Or, you know, I'll have some ideas on here and go through them. Because most of the time we're traveling or we're on planes and stuff, and it's kind of hard to work together while we're on a plane. Hard to work on a plane. It's even harder to work with somebody else on a plane. But yeah, so especially now, most of the ideas we'll start on our own, and then work on them together later. And that, again, that's whether we change the tempo, change the key, or, like, just do whatever. You know, we're always working. Yeah.
What synths do you guys use most of the time for, like, your sounds that you make?
Lately we've been using a lot of Serum.
Yeah. Serum is really cool. You get some really weird stuff with that. Massive.
Did you just FM8 at all?
I did for a bit, but it's pretty intense. Like I know how to use it. It's just the other ones are so much easier to use, and you could pretty much get the same sounds, you know, unless you really, really, really want, like, weird FM sounds and stuff, which is cool. It just sometimes it takes too long to try to get a certain sound that I want. Yeah. Yep.
How much emphasis do you guys put on finishing the tracks that you start? Like, I know you said you have a lot of not finished tracks, but, like, how often do you try to, like, put yourself to the mindset of, like, I want to finish this project so that I can have a finished product?
Again, I'd say it's probably just on you, you know, how much you want to finish this certain idea. If you believe in it enough that you're like, man, I need to finish this kind of thing.
So you guys are, like, very go with the flow. Like, if it sounds good and it falls into being complete, then cool, but you don't try to put too much.
Yeah, we're both big believers of, like, nothing should be forced.
Cool.
And it'll come off as sounding forced. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of times where you could tell if it is or not, you know. So it should, you know, music is about, you know, making something that'll make you feel something or make you enjoy it and stuff like that. And if you're sitting there, like, forcing yourself to, like, oh, I have to do this and do all that stuff, then, like, it's kind of not fun anymore. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, mind you, there's always, like, especially when you become an artist and stuff, there's, like, deadlines and stuff you have to fit, you know, get to, but still it's like that overall kind of mentality with things.
I was gonna ask you, how did the Star Wars track come about? Did you guys make that for fun, or were you approached for it?
Well, actually, yeah, we were approached. I think it was like, who hit us up again? It was
Kevin.
Kevin from Teamwork hit us up, and he was A&Ring the project.
Yeah.
And at the time, we were actually just starting the Goons Take America tour.
Yeah, the bus tour last year.
Yeah. And so then they were just like, hey, like, check out all these Star Wars samples, like, this is cool, like, remix project you guys could do, like, just flip something and make something cool with these sounds. And, like, we just went through, like, 8 gigs of just Star Wars sounds, and it was just all the machine sounds, like, yeah. I think he has it now.
Yeah, so Disney sent us, like, pretty much every single Star Wars sound effect.
Did you go through all 8 gigs?
Oh yeah, I mean, like, when you have something like this and it's something that's so epic, you gotta go through it all. There's like so many weird sounds in here. There's a lot of like
alarms,
like
and just
Foley
machine.
and
Yeah.
Like gunshots.
The Death Star horn.
Yeah, right.
The Death Star.
Like Jabba the Hutt shit.
There's an entire alarm folder.
There's all different alarms.
Yeah, and there's a lot of these samples you'll hear, and I mean, everyone that was on that album got all of this stuff, so that's why you'll hear all the similar samples and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know the Bauer used some of the same like alarm sounds that we used. Help me, Obi-Wan.
What's up? I'm Travis.
What's up, Travis?
So basically, with all these samples, is that kind of specific to that project, or you might even include something like that in your sample, right?
Well, mostly because I don't want to fuck with Disney. I'm probably not. But then again, if you mess things up enough, it's like impossible to tell.
Yeah.
You just really have to mess it up a lot. I try not to, but sometimes you just hear a sound, you're like, whoa, I could do something real cool with this. And then either work with it or you could try to recreate it as well. Yeah, you had a question.
What's like your best advice for like the last like 10-15% on a track? Like, because my biggest problem is like I'll make a track and I'll like the arrangement will be done, it's all pretty much done, but then there's like a couple of things I need to do, but like can't bring myself to like actually sit down and like finish the fucking track. So like what works for you guys? Like, is it literally just you sit there and you're like, we're gonna fucking finish this right now? Like,
Yeah, pretty much. And then like, like don't overthink it, because that's like when I think you get into trouble is when you overthink it and you try to add things that you shouldn't necessarily need.
Yeah, try taking away things maybe, and then like see how that works out. Try taking away different elements of the track, and it can maybe like just spark something too. Just that, you know, maybe.
Also, effects are very magical, like risers and all that stuff, like crashes and random noises. Yeah. Yeah.
I remember the last time you guys were here, you showed that one song with Dylan Francis. Candy.
Oh yeah, Candy.
How come you guys' name isn't on it?
So it's pretty much because of the album. You know, we wanted to push all focus for ourselves onto the album. Like anything that we're pushing should be album related. And Dylan really wanted to put it out before the album, and we just didn't want to necessarily take away from what we were trying to do. You know, like we put so much work into this album that this should be the main focus. And you know, we had told Dylan like, oh, you know, if you just want to wait till after the album or maybe like beginning of next year or something. And he was like, oh no, I'd really love to put it out, and then we're gonna work on something else and this and that. So yeah,
For sure.
yeah, it's more of a for us kind of thing. Anyone else?
How'd the collab with the Wax Motif happen? Like get the R&B kind of vibe instead of
So that was on the bus tour as well last year. He just had this
vocal idea.
Yeah, like that pretty much the first 15 seconds of the song, like the little pluck thing and like the little bass line, and like a very, very early vocal demo that he had recorded with this guy, Stylas from Australia. And he showed it to us. He's like, man, you know, if you guys are interested in this, I really want to work on it. And then I think pretty much the same day that he showed us, we just pretty much put down the entire idea for the song and got like the drop down and all that stuff, and yeah. Shout out Wax Motif.
Shout out.
How often do you guys reach out to other artists to feature on a track versus artists reaching out to you? Like, what's that? Do you guys often reach out, or do you have people contact you?
I mean, whenever we reach out, it's usually like super organic. We'll like link up somewhere and meet at like a show or a festival or something and just talk about it. And if we're into the idea, we'll just go and do it. But a lot of people hit us up, you know. I think it's kind of just depends on just when we're at, you know, wherever we're at, and then if we're cool with that person. I mean, we're cool with everyone, though.
Has there ever been someone that you're surprised hit you up? Like, you're like, oh.
Well, I think that the Martin Solveig one is probably the biggest, like, well, okay. And I mean, yeah, he's like one of the coolest dudes and such a smart fucking dude. Such a smart producer.
Track, dude. That track's sick.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
Kind of on that note, you guys kind of had like your first like big release with Laid Back Luke, right?
Yeah.
Like, how did you go about? Because didn't that get pushed pretty hard, and that was kind of like the start of like the whole GTA project, kind of, sort of.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, he was the first one to, I guess, take us under his wing, if you want to.
How did you get him to? How did that go about?
So this was like. How'd you force him into it? Yeah. So we cornered him into an alley.
That's why he does karate now.
Yeah, that's why he does karate now. No, I mean, at times were a bit different than they are now, which is kind of old of me to say that. Such a weird thing to say. Yeah, things were much different, you know, like the whole hype for dance music and everything wasn't as big now. There isn't schools for dance music production at the time and stuff, you know. So it just, I don't say it was easier, but there was just less competition, and not that had anything to do with it. We just put ourselves out there, and he had a forum on his website, laidbackluke.com or whatever, where you submit your track and then he'll eventually get you feedback. And we put like 5 or 6 tracks, and he started, you know, direct messaging us, and sooner or later he was like, oh man, I really like what you guys are doing. I want to take you guys, and I just started this publishing company. It'd be cool if you guys signed along, and then, you know, I'll kind of help, you know, put you guys out there. We have this tour coming up and all this stuff, and it kind of just, I mean, when we got that email, we were freaking out. But yeah, it just kind of happened like that. And then in doing that, like on that bus tour, we made which is the first tour we ever did ever. We made Booty Bounce on that bus, and then
that was
somehow got it to A-Track and Diplo, yeah. And then they're like, oh, sick, and then Diplo was like, yeah, let's put it out on Mad Decent, and it just kind of kept going like that. Yeah.
Snowballed from there.
Yeah.
So you said times are different now. So, like, what do you think the best route of going is if you're trying to start your own thing for like a young artist in today's world? Like, you think it's more of like building your own brand and like, well, obviously building your own brand, but you think it's worth it to really try to like put your songs out there to people, maybe just for feedback or out as like a demo, or like to really try to build up your SoundCloud and your stuff, and then once you feel like you have a few like 1,000 followers or whatever, and you then try to push your stuff out? Like, what do you think in today's world the best way is to go about it?
I think it's just put yourself out there, you know, and work on music and have passion and drive for it, because I mean, there's a lot of times even in between all of that happening where there was nothing going on, and you're like, okay, this is kind of falling apart or whatever.
Yeah, it's really easy to get discouraged, but at the end of the day, it's just like, as long as you keep pushing the envelope, people are going to take notice. And like, you know, it's just a matter of being patient and having that drive and passion for it, and just keep doing it.
And try to make music for yourself, you know, like what you are into. That's how you get your sound, you know, by making stuff for you, not trying to make it for SoundCloud likes, or, you know, for somebody to possibly play it or some shit, you know, like pretty much every artist that sticks out and pretty much stays relevant and stuff are all artists that have made something kind of original, you know. There's like some dubstep guys that, you know, they just sound like kind of each other all the time, you know. And, you know, that's cool, like that's fine, but, you know, they're not going to stick out because they all kind of sound the same, you know.
Gotcha.
So if you're inspired by dubstep, like try doing something different. Like I think Rkcb is one of the like the newest dudes. It's still trap and like hybrid trap stuff, but he's putting his own thing to it. You know, like it sounds like damn, I know that's a Rkcb track, kind of thing. You know, so it's like just do that, put yourself out there, like, you know, keep branding and all these other things in mind, but most of it is like the music is what's going to drive you.
So like if someone like I try to think about like for the future, of course, but trying to find the fine line of like, okay, I don't want to like annoy the shit out of someone if it's like I send them something and don't get a response, you know what I mean?
I'd say leave it. Yeah. Like that was one of the main things that I also worried about when we were starting out. Like you want these guys to listen to their tracks, especially now being on the other side of it. Like things get really busy. You don't have internet. You know, you're out in the world trying to download a WAV file is impossible, and it'll cost you like $120.
Right.
You know, like it's you know, either they'll get to it or they won't, and if not, then it wasn't meant to be, kind of thing. You know, and just keep sending them new tracks or whatever. You know what I mean? Like just don't try to be annoying.
Gotcha. Name of the game.
Yeah. Chelsea.
Can we do 2 questions from Facebook Live? The first one is, how did you make the intro to A Little Bit of This?
How do we make the intro to A Little Bit of This? Well, let me pull it up and maybe ask the second question.
Second question is, how much reverb and delays did you put on your master? I don't know what song it is.
Oh, well, absolutely none.
Yeah.
On the master. Usually for like, I mean, you can. It's not like unheard of. You know, like in Isotope, they have a reverb that's within the mastering chain of it. You know, it's like we don't necessarily do that. I normally will either put it on a channel, like per channel basis, like on the vocal channel or whatever. Or especially for like a whole track with all the different drums and stuff, I'll just make a send and then just route, you know, each sound however much to the send, EQ the send and all that. Make sure it's not like too crazy. Wherever you are, Facebook person who asked that, I'm talking to you.
Is that GTA? Drive?
Yeah, did we hear that?
Come on. What? Wait, there was another. I'll pull this up real quick. I don't know what this is actually. We've worked with him a few times, and I think the track that we had like the most idea from, he still has it on his, like he's working on his setup. So I'm not sure what this is.
Yeah. Who's one of your favorite people you've collabed with? Other producers, I mean.
Diplo?
Yeah, I mean he's always fun. Dylan is a real hoot.
Yeah.
I mean Waxy's awesome to work with. He's also like super creative and like just likes making anything.
Bauer, who we just recently
we recently just worked with Bauer. And stuff. I can show you what that sounds like, but actually, wait, this is being streamed, right?
Yeah, do it after the stream.
Okay. Sorry, streamers.
While we were waiting for that one, we have another one from Facebook. Do you recommend learning music theory for producing melodies, or is it possible to get by without any knowledge of that?
I mean, you can, but it's very important I think it's very important you learn it. Like, it helps so much creatively, like, writing melodies is just like, I feel like that takes you that much further, you know what I mean? Like, you have that much more headspace to just create and make some cool stuff and make different kinds of music, and yeah, music theory is super important.
Alright, so
there you go. GTA RL Grime right there.
For learning music theory, are you guys classically trained musicians? Or, like, not classically, but like, did you guys have teachers or mentors that you sought out, or did you look up stuff on the internet? Like, how did you go about learning your theory?
like middle school and like took music theory in high school and went to college for that. But I mean, it's possible to like just learn it online or whatever. Like music theory is just basically learning your scales, learning intervals, learning different things like that, and just all together helps you create so many things. Like, man, it's just cool to understand how music works like that. You know what I mean? It really helps you creatively. Yeah. Classic.
Pretty dry.
It's huge. Yeah. Oh, but that sound is Synth plant, I believe.
Fart sample.
It is also a fart sample.
They got a makeover.
Yeah, so I just like recorded it and just made it into a sample, put it on a sampler, and then there's just like a million plugins on it. I wonder what it sounds like without everything.
It's like a saw. It's a saw with like a low pass filter.
Yeah, it's pretty cool actually. Oh, a little bit of this.
GTA.
Yes, sir. Oh, it's older than that.
You guys think the drop formula ever drop out, or no? You think it'll stay pretty prevalent?
I think it'll stay. It just depends on
The artist.
the artist and depending, how they use it. You could technically probably add a drop to anything, but should you?
Yes. No.
Depends how much you like drops.
When you guys start a new project, is there a specific point in like where you start, like whether it's the intro, drop, breakdown, whatever section it is? Is there like a specific one that every time you open a new project, that's where you start, or does it vary?
It varies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think usually it's
That's how it
drums.
usually goes.
Usually we go for drums. We're pretty big into drums ourselves, so we just try making the fattest drums, bro.
Drum, bro?
So a little bit of this, right? That's how we did the intro.
They wanted to play the intro.
So that is just a tom loop, like a fill, like doo 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 or whatever, and then I just literally looped it and pitched it down. What does this even sound like before? Alright, let me clone it. This is what that sample is. And then just, it's just like filtered it out, stretched it out, made it sound all dirty and
Sidechained it.
Gross.
That was awesome.
Yeah, sidechain it and
what do you guys use to sidechain?
Usually LFO tool.
Nice.
If we're doing like a consistent 4/4 kind of thing. If not, we will mostly for trap stuff and where the kick patterns and bass lines change up a lot. We'll just use in FL they have the limiter that does the sidechain, which in Ableton it's like any of the compressors do the sidechain. But then we'll send use a really small audio sample, like a hi-hat or something really sharp, and use that just copy the kick pattern, the MIDI or whatever, and then copy it onto that hi-hat and use that as a trigger for the sidechain. And since it's such a small sound, you could control the attack and release really easily.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I hope that made sense.
Yeah, it did.
Cool.
Do you guys have any industry secrets that I don't know, one of those things that you wouldn't have learned if it weren't due to your success? You learned from being on stage or meeting certain artists? Any like lessons learned?
Industry secrets.
Industry secrets. Yeah.
That you can legally say.
Or illegal.
Well,
or after the stream goes off, you can tell.
Well, find yourself a good lawyer, because that is very important, actually. I don't know. Work on like, I wish we would have focused on branding more from the beginning. You know, we really got into this because we just love music and making music, and we never really thought so much of like
the branding and everything.
Being an artist and like the branding and, you know, actually worrying so much about that. So keep that in mind. You know, I would personally say focus on the music more, because that's what I care more about. But still, it's always good to keep that in mind and see what everyone else is doing, but don't try to compare yourselves to them. You know, you're trying to be your own artist. You're not trying to be, you know, Skrillex 2.0. You know, there's a reason he's Skrillex, and that's because he's Skrillex and you're you. So just do you, kind of thing. Yeah.
So what's your thought on, it's a big trend right now that people breaking off into other artist projects to do something completely different from anything they're doing, whereas you guys kind of said that you wanted to do something completely different for yourselves, but within the GTA project.
Yeah.
So like, what's your thought on like kind of, I don't know, discretion between the two ideas of starting something new or just creating something new with what exists?
I mean, it's essentially why we branded ourselves that way, is so that we didn't have to worry about having to start another project to do another sound. As you've heard, we're consistently doing fucking everything just because that's what we like, and we've always wanted to not pigeonhole ourselves. And I feel like other artists do that because they feel like they have been pigeonholed by their fans or by whoever, you know. So they want to start, you know, they are as creative as everybody else, so they want to work on different things. But a lot of people, I don't know why it kind of got that way. I mean, it makes sense. People like consistency, so I guess that does make sense. But we're weird, I don't know. Yep.
I'm sure you guys get like a lot of demos and messages and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What's something that you think we could do to kind of set us apart from just all those other people and show that we really like care and want to connect with like a producer that's more established than us?
I don't know, because a lot of it, like I was saying, has to do with, you know, like, oh, I checked the demo email today, and of the 5 bajillion emails that we have, I happen to listen to, you know, the first 100 or something, you know, like, I'd say just give it time, you know, like, people have their lives, people are really busy, especially, like, the bigger artists, you know, they have even less time to check emails, so just kind of keep going, putting yourself out there, you know, eventually, especially if you're making really cool stuff, you know, eventually it'll be heard.
Sweet. And
it'll be passed around, you know, like what happens with everyone, like, oh damn, hear this shit, you know.
Sweet. Appreciate it.
And it takes time.
Yeah.
Like, try not to be discouraged. It does take a lot of time. I mean, it's taken us 6 years to get to this point, if not more, you know.
Thanks.
When you guys go like to like a huge festival or whatever before you go DJ, what goes on in your head when you're on stage and all that stuff? Do you guys just like look at a crowd and just like forget about everything and just go into the zone, or like what happens?
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we just hype each other up. I mean, that's all energy based, you know what I mean? So for us, it's just getting hype and just seeing what the crowd's gonna be into, you know, and guessing that. And
yeah.
Yeah. So like when you guys like set up like a full set before the show, like a year before, you guys have like a specific way you go into that, or do you just like pick a bunch of different songs throughout the year that you guys like playing?
Well, there's really, I mean, we don't necessarily plan sets, actually. Everything that we've done, there's been a few of them that we have planned because we want to try it out. But we actually, it can be pretty stressful, at least for us, since we're so used to just doing whatever on the fly. Yeah, it's really just, you know, by now there's certain tracks that we know we have to play. You know, the crowd is going to want to hear Red Lips at a GTA show, you know. So there's certain songs that we want to play, maybe make special edits of those songs to throw people off or something. And then everything from there in between, just try to read the crowd and, you know, direct the set how you want it, keeping in mind that, you know, there's a crowd watching you. You know, it's the whole thing of being a DJ is being able to read a crowd and making sure everyone turns up, you know.
Yeah.
It's pretty nerve-wracking.
How about visuals? I mean, how do you guys get started on finding, do you have someone specifically that does your visuals? Has it changed? Do you ever try and do it yourself? Like,
Well, Mr. Device, the dude who created like the branding, the characters, and everything like that, he, especially for this tour, he was VJing a lot of the art and like.
Yeah. So he has his team that he works with as well. That he'll like hand draw and everything. And if you look at our Instagram, there's like little wheat paste and stuff that we've done, especially on this tour. Like probably don't have to scroll back very far. But there's all this like cool weird art stuff that he hand draws, and then he'll work with his team to take the drawings and animate them and just make all this content that kind of surrounds the branding. And he's fucking awesome. I mean, you can look at all his stuff. He like hand paints like huge wall murals and stuff like that. He's really fucking awesome. Shout out Mr. Device.
Chelsea.
Facebook has asked several times for you guys to talk about mastering and what the process is like, and they're also asking how often you outsource mastering.
So the only time we've ever outsourced was for the album. As far as mastering, mixing. I mean, this is literally the track. I exported it here and sent it to the guy. All in the same track, all in the same project that we started the song with. I'd say mixing is probably, especially in the beginning, more important. Like the mix down is the most important, way more than mastering. Mastering just pretty much like, it's like taking a polish and just polishing it off and making it sound like as perfect as possible. And the reason we outsourced with mastering on this song, or on this album, was because I've never mastered like a whole album, like different songs to all kind of be sonically about the same. And then we were touring and stuff as well. So it's easier to have someone that is like, this is exactly what they do, to take this whole album and make it sound like the polished off, clean version that you want it to be like. Yeah, I mean, as far as mix downs, you know, pick what you want to be the loudest thing. You know, pick your sounds precisely so that they don't clash with each other. EQ, you know, certain things. I try to clean up as much as possible, even if it's like, if it's a hi-hat and there aren't any lows whatsoever or whatever. Sometimes in the sample there will be some low frequencies that'll muddy up the sub frequencies. So I always just go back and take an EQ and just cut it out, even if it doesn't sound like there's anything, just because I'm crazy like that, I guess. And I like try not to necessarily work like this, with like the volume faders all the way up. I'll work on an idea, and then especially in Ableton and pretty much any other DAW, you could do it, you know, bring it all down together. And I usually will go like down here, like -4 dB or something like that, and then I will put just the glue and isotope. And the glue is an amazing compressor. It sounds fucking awesome. And then ozone, and I just pretty much use a limiter on there, and then EQ a bit on the master. Yep.
Oh, I just noticed the Battle.net logo. Do you play any Overwatch?
I have it, and I have not been able to play it yet. I've been dying to, though.
What's your hobby outside of music, like arts and ways to be?
I mean, I don't know. I like cooking. Cooking's fun.
Cooking is fun. Video games, as you can see.
Gears.
Yeah. Exercising's always good. You know. Living life to the fullest is another hobby of mine.
They want you to explain what you did to the vocal chops in the drop for your 6th Gear remix.
Ooh, it's a fun one. I don't know if I have it on here. Actually.
6th Gear.
Do you have it on there?
Yeah,
it's like my favorite track. Well, I don't think I have it here in particularly, but I will kind of redo it.
You said cowbell was the loudest point of reference, right?
Yes. Yes, that is exactly correct.
Bless you.
Thanks. Whatever. I don't know what.
I got that one hit to quit.
So, I don't know what vocal sample it was or something that we used for 6th Gear. So I'm just gonna use this one and essentially show you what it was. So this is Slice X. Oh, you have it there.
So basically, I just like chopped up this one vocal sample, and then I automated like the pitch wheel on this thing called Slice X on Fruity Loops, and it does.
Yeah, so it pretty much just
Yeah.
slices it up and makes different slices of whatever sample you put in it, which is the same thing he has here. And then he just, and then.
So I made like a little pattern just with the chops like that. So, yeah, and then I just automated that.
Yeah.
So I just have a pitch wheel just going crazy.
And that's it. Yep.
So how did you guys end up working on a track with Rkcb, and how did you process his vocals in that song?
Ooh, that's another one that we recorded and did everything with them.
Because the vocals on that was tight.
Yeah, that's actually my favorite song, honestly. It was so cool, like working on it and everything.
Did you just reach out to Rkcb?
So that was actually through the label, like our publishing, which is through Warner Chappell. They just been looking for people, like cool people to work with, and kind of just set us up to work with them. We honestly hadn't heard much or anything about them before, anything like that. We just kind of got a good recommendation and just went into the studio with them. And they're awesome dudes to work with. Actually, a lot of what they're doing is really cool too.
So is one of them a singer and one's a producer?
Pretty much, and they both like write.
Yeah, they both produce, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but they both write music and stuff like that, and like they're like us. They just love bouncing ideas off each other, and like working with them, like the workflow is super smooth and just like, yeah, man. They came up with all the lyrics and the melodies and sent back all the harmonies and all that stuff too, and just killed it, man. They're super talented.
That's sick.
I'll show. It's pretty similar to the other track, but I'll show you now. It's like pretty much just like OTT, you know, different stacks of the same takes and stuff like that.
Because the vocals, they sound like kind of like chorusy, but they're not at the same time.
Yeah.
I don't know how to describe it.
There's someone I can take from your fingertips, but it's hard to only be the one you're playing with. Do I fake the fight to prove I'm right? I'm just the right kind of high I might. Am I lights off when I'm cast aside tonight? Maybe I should go listen.
Yeah, so that one actually does have a chorus on it. Just a little slight chorusing. The dimension expander is actually probably one of the coolest things that we did on this track. Like,
There's someone I can take from your fingertips.
and that it's actually all the way wet on the dimension expander, which is just like super wide, super simple delay. I don't know if you know about the dimension expander, like the same one for Massive that affect the dimension
They have
expander.
that in like Serum.
Yeah, the same one. Well, this is Xfer. It's like Steve Duda's stuff. It's like the same one in Serum and all that.
Do you guys commonly use OTT on vocals?
Yeah, it kind of gives it, like OTT gives it like a very forced, like sonic, like EQing sound to it. Like, if you could throw it on any sound and it'll pretty much make it all sound like that same, like just overly compressed, you know, pretty high frequency kind of sound, kind of thin, actually, if you overuse it, which a lot of people overuse it. And so I just try to use a bit of it because it's a really, really good like compression technique, and it'll make everything just sound loud as shit. So just use it sparingly. We use it on some synths, stuff like that, especially if you're trying to get like a little edge to it. It's really nice. But yeah, then kind of the same plugins. This is a cool little delay plugin.
What is that?
What was that?
What plugin is that?
I think it's a free plugin, actually. Bionic Super Delay. Super with a P and an A. I mean, super with an A.
And then what was the
so it's cool.
one?
Oh, the chorus one is another free plugin pack. It's called GTAMusicStore. I don't know if you could see that. It's like some crazy weird name. But if you just Google that name, there's like a whole pack of. There's a chorus, there's a compressor, there's a delay, there's a reverb, that are all free, like freeware and stuff. And we use that a bunch on
everything.
Yeah, everything. We use it all the time. Yeah. Then yeah, the same like that RS doing the same exact thing.
What is that? What was the name of that one? Yeah.
Yeah, it's the Waves RS56.
Is this an imager?
It's just an EQ.
Oh, it's an EQ.
Yeah, it's just like it has like set parameters, like set frequencies for the highs, the mids. You could see them here. It's just like different selections, and then.
What is it? The Waves RS what?
RS56.
5 what?
6.
5 6.
Yeah. Yes, Chelsea.
Would love to hear your thoughts on making sub bass. You say you use a million plugins, and I want to know which particular plugins you use. You said that you use LFO, Tool, Sidechain, compression. What other plugins work well?
Yes. So like for this one, I don't have the thing on here, but
sorry guys, gotta go fast.
Yeah, all good. So especially for for sidechain, especially for like consistent 4/4 on the beat kind of stuff, LFO tool is really good if it will ever load. But then we also use it for some other things, like this. When you're doing trap stuff, a lot of times, especially a lot of like early producers, there's like barely any snare, wherein there should be like a snare punching you in the face or something. And that's mostly due because there's so much going on and they're all playing at the same time. And so I use this, and I have it set on a bar loop, so that whole thing is a bar. And then for halftime trap stuff, put that on your sub or your kick or whatever, and it'll make sure that your snare always punches out because it's ducking everything else. So really, to get those loud, crazy drums, it's same thing, idea of like less is more. There's a crazy sub bass going on, you want to duck it out a bit so that it leaves room for the snare to punch through. You only have certain amount of space of room in audio. Anything more than that, it's either going to be, if you have a limiter, it's going to be limited to shit and it's going to sound terrible, or it's going to distort real bad. So you got to make the space for it. Like, it's not just going to appear magically. Yep.
Do you duck it the same amount as your when the kick comes in?
Nope.
A little less.
So here you see I have it, like, it doesn't go all the way down.
Yeah.
It just depends on, try to play with it, because you don't want to take away too much so that it is still loud.
Yeah.
You just want to take it away enough so that it's like cutting through enough.
Cool.
Like I'll put the same thing on the kick, and because I want the kick to punch a lot and to be heard, I probably put this on the kick, but only like halfway or so,
Okay.
so that it's still ducking it, but not like very intensely.
Nice.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like part of the reason I asked why you put that like OTT on your vocals is because like I do that like all the time on my vocals, and I've heard from like 3 or 4 people that that's like totally wrong, and I've totally thought, I don't know, that was dumb.
Well, here's
like,
one of the main
yourself,
things I could say is there is no right way. Like, there really isn't.
like,
There's a better way, but there's
Yeah.
no right way.
do you guys find yourself breaking a lot of rules like that, or just doing like
Oh yeah. I mean, when I went to SAE,
They're like, yeah.
yeah. When I went to SAE, half the shit I was doing, they're like, "Oh, you're doing it the wrong way," and I mean, it works for me. I don't care. You know, like, what do I care if you think I'm wrong? It works. You know, and again, there's better ways to do things. You know, there's more efficient ways to do things, but there is no right or wrong way. And as long as it sounds good, as long as it gets the job done, you know. So, keep doing what you're doing, bro.
When working with other people or even each other, how do you make sure, like on tracks or whatever, you still get your footprint in, but you're still in a balance of his track and my track?
I mean, we're super like open-minded with anything. Like sometimes he'll do most of the stuff in the project, and you know, for me, I'm always gonna think that it's different. It's a cool idea, and I have my notes and stuff like that. I'll like suggest, but I'll never just get in the way of just what he wants to do, because I feel like, especially just being friends with him, you know what I mean? It's just kind of like, man, like.
And vice versa too. I'm not like.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, same.
One-way relationship.
But you know, either way though, it's just like trading ideas is cool for us, and like I said, it's really cool just to see like a different perspective, and it's never really been an issue between us to like keep our own footprint in there, like our own sound or something, because we've been together for 6 years now, and you know, our sound is everything. So.
Yeah, and if you're going to collaborate with someone, you have to keep in mind that you're collaborating with someone. Like, the whole point of doing it is to work with the other person, so you kind of want their input and you want their, you know, their I mean, there's times we've worked with people and nothing's come of it. It is the way it is sometimes. There's sometimes we worked with people before and there was nothing, and then we worked with them again and there was something, so just, like, be open-minded, and hopefully they are also open-minded, which, again, if they're trying to work with someone, you'd imagine they would be. Yeah.
Who are your guys' biggest musical influences?
Pharrell.
Yeah. And then, I mean, probably, like, you know, Diplo and Skrillex and those guys. When we were getting into dance music and everything, like, you know, we went to go see, you know, Major Lazer and stuff, and like that's kind of what we wanted to try to do, and like we were so inspired by him and everything, and we still are. So I'd say probably, yeah, between those three, and then just trying to find random music, you know, not even dance music, you know, other stuff to inspire you. Yep.
Yeah, that was what I was about to ask. Like, what do you guys listen to, or like growing up before you got into dance music? What were you really into before then that you pull from into like what you're creating now?
I mean, we listened to a lot of like rock music growing up. I think that was one thing that we just bonded over.
A lot of metal.
Yeah. And then like also just rap songs. You know, like he listened to DMX. I've never like. You might not seem like it, but he's actually DMX's #1 fan.
I have his face tattooed on my back.
Yeah, but I mean everything really, like especially us being from Miami, like growing up listening to just Latin music and
like salsa, merengue, reggaeton.
And then me like being in band, just listening to jazz and classical and like.
He was in a ska band.
Yeah, I was in a ska band.
Like, we really just love music, you know, and I mean I'm still listening to like newer metal stuff. We're listening to a ton of hip hop stuff. Listening to a bunch of like indie stuff. Like I really love Glass Animals and Unknown Mortal Orchestra is awesome, you know. So just. I love everything, really.
Dope. Thank you.
Have you guys ever produced pop music for another artist who's like been credited?
Not yet, but we're kind of working on some stuff. Yeah.
Can you say with who?
No.
How did Prison Riot come about? Did you guys know you were gonna make the hardest trap song ever?
It was just kind of we met up with Flosstradamus a long time ago, and when we were like talking to Josh from Flosstradamus, he was like, "Man, let's do something," and I flew out with them to Atlanta, and we were like sitting with like Southside from 808 Mafia and like DJ Spin and a bunch of people, and just the creative flow in Atlanta, just I don't know, man, the trap just got to me, man. It's weird. Trap got my soul.
What was it like the first time playing that? Like out live?
Well, we've had a different version before.
Yeah, there are like 3 versions of that as well.
But when we played that other version, the version that's out, yeah, I remember. There's a video of it actually. I was just watching. We played it at Terminal 5 in New York, and it was so crazy. There was like 4 mosh pits going on at the same time. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, and that was another one where, like I said, we met up. You know, he met up with Josh, and they started on that idea, and that was one whole idea. And then I was like, man, it's GTA and Flosstradamus kind of thing. Like, this needs to be the hardest fucking track ever. So that's why it changed out around a few times until we were able to really, on the bus tour with them, meet up and finish that and work on it together and just go through a bunch of different like sounds and ideas and just be like, we need to make this like the most intense fucking thing.
Yeah, because I heard it for the first time when you guys played at the Shrine with them.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So we just that was one track where I was like, yeah, we definitely need to have the craziest fucking track.
Oh yeah. And it's funny because actually after we finished that one, we were on another stop, and then we actually just made like a house track, just a super like housey track, and we were just like, man, let's just try something different. But I mean, that's the kind of you know, the kind of people that we love working with. Just people who are just down to try anything. Like no matter if you're Flosstradamus and like Trap Lords, you could still go and be down to make a house song. You know what I mean?
Like this is actually GTA and Floss.
Waffle House?
Yes.
Now I want some waffles.
Damn, what's going on here?
Is it master?
Really good.
Yo, drop that shit.
Oh, that goes much harder than Prison Riot. Yes, Chelsea.
Basic wants to know, how did you transition from having your day-to-day jobs to doing music full time?
I quit on the spot. Well, no, just pretty much when we did the Laid Back Luke tour, you know, and I had been working with some other artists as well to get some other kind of income, and just after a while I was like, man, I'm kind of wasting my time at this, like, you know, $8 an hour job, part-time job kind of thing, and then we just started kind of touring, and yeah, it just whenever the financials was there, essentially.
Cool.
Did you guys open that Dyro collab project?
Sure. Wait, is this still being streamed?
Yeah, it's been streamed, so don't do it.
Okay, so I'm not going to do that right now, so that it's not recorded.
I want to hear it, see it.
Is it coming out?
We don't have a plan for it yet, and it's actually still not completely done, but it will come out. We definitely want to come out like for next year. Yeah.
We're on the topic of like collaborations. Can you talk a little bit about working with TJ?
With TJ, yeah, TJ was I mean, that was before I think we did the bus tour. He just hit us up and he was just like, man, come through the studio in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Went through and like, we've been talking online for like a minute before then, but.
And we've known him for a while. He was like, one of the first shows I ever did was down in San Diego, and he was playing the same show, and that was like 4 or 5 years ago. So he's always kind of been in the same kind of circle of friends as we've been in as well.
Was that the LED one?
Was that? Yeah.
I think I was there.
Yeah.
That's when like Funky Vodka just came out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, oh my god, what is it? The Surfer, the beach club? What is it?
Wave House.
The Wave House.
R.I.P.
Yeah, R.I.P. Wave House. He used to play that, and TJ would play that all the time. Yeah. Anyone else? So.
Question kind of related to the one that the online person just asked, but at what point did you guys start like really investing in your business in terms of like, once you kind of have some money coming in, there's obviously a lot of things to keep the business going and to keep the business growing. You know, you're investing in your branding and you know, advertising, marketing, that kind of stuff. Like, at what point was that? Like, how far along were you in your career when you started doing that?
I think it was after or during the time we were touring with Rihanna. It kind of just all sprawled on us. Like, we're about to go from playing max 200 people to playing like for 15,000 people. We have to bring some kind of production. We have to bring like something to the table besides the music, just so we can kind of have an identity and like make something. You know, so yeah, probably around that time is when we started to like really invest in just branding and doing the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it was kind of just out of necessity at first, because like he was saying, we went from playing like one show every 2 months to here's 70 shows in 5 months. Like, figure something out. You know? Yeah.
When is the GTA and Rihanna track coming out?
It's a great question. You should probably ask her, though.
Okay, I will.
Hello, Rihanna.
No, hopefully though. I mean, I've been super down.
Yeah, I'd pay $50 for that track.
I'd probably pay more.
Like to buy it on iTunes.
Damn.
Should do like a Wu-Tang thing and have like that gold like album disc, you know, just with one track.
Oh yeah.
Damn, that'd be down.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, you never know.
Anyone else got any questions?
Can we turn the stream off so we can start listening to music?
That's a great question.
Actually, yeah, we can do that.
Oh, okay.
They go to Facebook.
Sorry, guys.
Where are we looking at? Bye, Facebook.
Bye, Facebook.
It was nice talking to you. We're GTA.